Hey y'all, welcome back to She Loved Me Best in Secret. I'm your host, Ryder Knox. All right, fellas, before we get started, if you drink beer, go grab one. If you don't drink, grab a Coke and just sit there judgmental. That's fine too. Now, ladies, I already know some of y'all have been waiting on this episode like it's 50 Shades of Frisco, and Connor's mama might somehow hear this, so I gotta keep it respectful. But if your wine glass is empty, you may want to pause this right now and handle that situation. Because this chapter starts getting tense fast. Matter of fact, some of y'all ain't making it through this one on Pinot Grigio alone. You're going to be halfway through the chapter looking around your house like, I should text him. Don't do that. That's not on me. Don't go blaming my story later as to why you're back with your ex. Everybody good? Good. This is chapter 3. The kiss that should have never happened. September 2016. By the time September rolled around, Connor and Grace Bennett had become something dangerous. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally? Oh, they were already crossing lines people pretend don't matter, right before those lines destroy everything. The strange part? They had barely even seen each other in person. But I love you was a constant phrase used. Sometimes emotional affairs are worse that way. The anticipation, the fantasy, the not knowing. Every text becomes loaded. Every notification sends a pulse through your chest. Every conversation feels stolen. Meanwhile, Connor's marriage was slowly suffocating him. Before Connor and Serena got married, they had attended one of those marriage seminars centered around love languages. At first, he thought it helped them understand each other better. Eventually, it just became ammunition. Serena's love language was acts of service. Connor's was words of affirmation. And somehow every argument became a scoreboard, proving he was failing at both. Connor walked through the front door exhausted after another emotionally draining day at work. Student behaviors, CPS involvement, parent calls, the kind of stress that empties a person out before they even make it home. Serena stood in the kitchen waiting. Serena looked at Connor and said, I need you to meet my love language tonight. She handed him a list. Connor stared at it in disbelief. Serena, I literally did all this yesterday. I still have papers to grade tonight. I dealt with a CPS situation until 6 o'clock. I just want to eat with the kids and lay down. Serena, typical. I don't know why I expect you to care about my needs. And there it was. Not rage, not passion. Just disappointment marinating into resentment. The kind that slowly poisons a marriage over years. Connor rubbed his forehead. So if I do the dishes right now, our marriage magically survives? It would be a start, considering you don't do anything. I don't do anything? Now here's the thing about Connor. He wasn't lazy. He was exhausted. There's a difference. Home no longer felt peaceful. So Connor did what emotionally drowning men often do. He disappeared into work, into projects, into distractions, into anything that delayed going home. Then his phone lit up. And just like that, his whole body relaxed. Connor smiled despite himself. Your timing is impeccable. My friend Ryan's coming in from Austin tonight. Oh? But really what he was thinking? I'm jealous. Immediate, irrational, male jealousy. Gotta love it. Amazing how fast it shows up when another man's name gets attached to a woman you're not supposed to want. Relax, he's basically my brother. Ah yes, the brother. Women have been saying that sentence moments before chaos begins since the invention of dating itself. Grace text. You should come out tonight. Connor text. Won't you be with Ryan and Graham? Grace text. Paige will be there too. Graham's staying home. Connor text. Seriously? Grace text. Yes, I actually want to have fun tonight. Graham is allergic to fun. Now listen. Every man on earth hears the phrase, he's like a brother to me, and immediately becomes an FBI investigator. Suddenly you're analyzing timestamps, tone changes, Instagram likes. You become emotionally Sherlock Holmes for absolutely no reason. Ryan was a weird character to digest. Grace even spoke about him like he was a disaster who was one more strike away from hitting prison. Yet here she is telling Connor that her BFF is coming to spend the weekend. Connor laughed it off. Externally. Internally? That man was spiraling like a ceiling fan in a tornado. The sad part was Connor would eventually have to hang out with Ryan in Austin and pretend to like him. Which is exhausting because Ryan was the kind of 35-year-old man who still treated Hooters like it was a country club membership. And naturally, Ryan didn't approve of Connor. Shocker. The guy spending every Tuesday night eating Daytona wings while flirting with waitresses named Kaylee wasn't sold on Connor's long-term potential. Connor never really understood the hold Ryan had over Grace. Every group has one of those people, though. You know what I mean. That one friend nobody actually likes, but somehow they've survived 6 relationships, 4 apartments, and 2 economic collapses alongside your person. They just linger. Like decorative throw pillows nobody uses, but everybody keeps moving around the house. Ryan was basically Grace's emotional support raccoon. Always there, always eating something fried, always somehow involved. And Connor tried. Lord, he tried. But it's hard taking relationship advice from a grown man whose life goal appeared to be maybe get upgraded to assistant manager at Twin Peaks. Then Grace continued with trying to get Connor to come out. Connor should have said no. A good husband says no. A faithful husband says no. But a husband without oxygen. The husband without oxygen starts searching for a way to breathe again. So Connor lied to Serena. He told her he was heading to the mall to look for an anniversary gift. Serena yelled back, "I don't want anything." That should have hit him harder than it did. Because deep down, neither of them expected romance from each other anymore. That marriage wasn't burning, it was cooling slowly. And Connor was beginning to realize how dangerous it feels when someone new suddenly makes you feel alive again. By the time he got to the Iron Pub, Grace had already been drinking. And Lord help him. Grace text, "I just took 3 shots." Connor smiled immediately. Connor text, "3 actual shots or fake girl shots?" Grace text, "Oh, honey, I can drink." Grace Bennett after Fireball was a different species entirely. Happy, fearless, playful. He got to Ringo's, and Grace said she'd meet him over there, so she walked over. As he watched her walk towards him, his heart knew he was in trouble. You know, y'all, when Connor first told me this story, I'm pretty sure that's the moment he fell head over heels for her. He just kept describing the night as seeing her come around the corner and walking up the sidewalk. And just like that, the fantasy became real. Ringo sat on a hill above the street below. Darkwood. Dim lights. The kind of place where secrets feel safe. Connor ordered a shot, mostly because his nerves were betraying him. Then he saw her. Grace Bennett. Walking uphill toward him in a soft, grayish-white dress that hugged her body just enough to make a man lose focus. Blonde hair brushing against her shoulders, slightly stumbling from Fireball and confidence. And when she saw him, she smiled. The kind of smile that convinces a man to ignore every warning sign in his life. She opened her mouth to say something, but Connor never gave her the chance. His hand slid around her waist, pulling her against him, and then he kissed her. Right there on the sidewalk. Public, reckless, wrong, and absolutely perfect. And suddenly, Connor couldn't hear the traffic anymore, couldn't hear the music spilling out of Ringo's, couldn't hear the drunk guys laughing 3 feet away pretending they weren't eavesdropping. To her perfume, her skin against his chest, the taste of Fireball whiskey and blood and honey on her breath. But he didn't mind since they were both his favorite. The way Grace Bennett looked at him like she already knew what he was about to become. And that's when Connor realized he was in serious trouble. Not because he wanted her. That part had been obvious since Miluna. No. Connor was in trouble because somewhere during that kiss, something shifted emotionally. The scary part wasn't the kiss. It was how natural it felt. Like they had already done this 1,000 times somewhere in another life. Grace melted into him instantly, her body relaxing against his as if she'd been waiting for him to finally stop resisting her. Connor deepened the kiss slowly, savoring her, breathing her in, and in that moment, the entire world disappeared. And right there, that was the beginning of the end. Not the almost affair, not the lies, not even what's about to happen. The kiss. Because once two lonely people discover they can make each other feel alive again, they almost never stop. Right there in the middle of the bar, with people laughing around them and the music humming through the speakers, Connor kissed Grace again. And this one was different. The first kiss carried tension and hesitation behind it. Two people testing a line they both knew they probably shouldn't cross. But this kiss? This one had certainty in it. The kind of certainty that shows up when two people stop pretending they're fighting the pull between them. Connor's hand rested against the side of Grace's face, while her fingers wrapped around his arm, holding on to him like she had already made peace with whatever this was becoming. It was obvious now. Painfully obvious. They fit together in a way that felt natural. A little too natural for two people who had every reason in the world to stay away from each other. And that's usually when people get themselves in trouble. When Connor slowly pulled away, Grace looked up at him with that smile, the dangerous kind. The kind of smile that says the decision's already been made, even if nobody's admitted it out loud yet. For a second, the entire bar disappeared around them. Then her phone started vibrating across the counter. Grace glanced down at the screen and immediately looked caught off guard. "Ryan and Paige are looking for me," Connor smirked. "Oh, did you tell them where you were going?" Grace shook her head. "No, I just left." Connor laughed quietly and leaned back against the bar. "Wow," he said. "So you're that friend." And judging by the look Grace gave him after that, she absolutely was. She said, "A little Irish goodbye never hurt anyone." "Well, I couldn't exactly say I'm going to go make out with this guy. Graham keeps texting me." "Oh, what are you saying to him?" "I'm not. I'm just ignoring him." Grace was in full party mode that night. Her energy was intoxicating in a way that had nothing to do with alcohol. The more she laughed, the more Connor drank. The more she touched his arm when she talked, the more he forgot every reason he should leave. By the time Connor and Grace had worked through 3 drinks and a shot together, the entire bar felt softer around the edges. Easier, warmer, dangerously warmer. Connor pulled her back into him again, but this time there was nothing hesitant about it. His hand tightened against her waist with a little more confidence. Grace inhaled sharply against him, and Connor swore he could actually feel her breathe him in. Like she was trying to memorize him. His cologne, his skin, the moment itself. And God, that did something to him. For half a second, neither of them moved. The noise from the bar disappeared. The people disappeared. The guilt disappeared. It was just the two of them standing there in the middle of a bad decision that already felt impossible to stop. Then suddenly Grace pulled back fast, almost like reality hit her all at once. But she didn't let go. Instead, she grabbed Connor's hand tightly and started walking. She was in a rush to get out of the bar and into the parking lot. She asked, "Where's your car?" Connor wasn't expecting anyone to end up in his car that night, and judging by the disaster sitting in his passenger seat, neither was the car. Fast food wrappers, a hoodie, papers from work, an empty water bottle rolling around the floorboard. Normal life. But Grace didn't seem to notice any of it, or maybe she simply didn't care. The second they reached the car, her urgency became impossible to ignore. Connor barely had time to open the passenger door before she was already moving toward him, brushing past his shoulder as if every second apart suddenly felt unbearable. Connor laughed under his breath as he hurriedly grabbed everything off the passenger seat and tossed it blindly into the back. Grace was already sitting down waiting for him. No hesitation, no second thoughts, just that look in her eyes, the one that said, "Come here." The moment Connor leaned into the car, Grace grabbed the front of his shirt tightly and pulled him toward her, hard, like she had spent the entire night trying not to do exactly that. Connor stumbled forward slightly, smiling against her lips as his hand reached down and pulled the lever to recline her seat back. The door slammed shut behind him as he climbed into the car with her, the confined space immediately thick with tension. And God, they were terrible at pretending they didn't want each other. Everything became rushed after that, messy, desperate. Her purse hit the floor. Her phone disappeared somewhere beneath them. Connor's keys clattered into the console. Neither of them cared. Grace's hands moved to his face instantly, pulling him into another kiss before he could even catch his breath. And this kiss was different now. Deeper, needier. Connor slowly caught her bottom lip between his teeth, and the soft sound that escaped her nearly destroyed whatever self-control he had left. Because Grace wasn't holding back anymore either. Connor could feel her body through her dress, and his hands intensely pulled up her dress so he could move his body between her legs. Her body pressed into his with equal intensity, equal desperation. Every touch from her felt charged. She grabbed his belt and unbuckled it fast while trying to get his jeans unbuttoned so she could slide her hand down. Connor's hand slid along her waist before he pinned her wrists gently above her head, holding them there for just a second as he kissed her harder. Not to control her, to feel her, to feel the way she reacted to him. And she absolutely did. His face pressed into her chest. Grace tilted her head back slightly, her breathing uneven now. His hand moved slowly down the side of her body, tracing the curve of her waist beneath the thin fabric of her dress, while his mouth and lips explored her chest passionately. His mouth had made it up to her neck. Her legs were wrapped around him with her hands on his back under his shirt, nails penetrating into his skin. This felt inevitable. His body was tense, his pants were now halfway down, and her hands were pushing him up into her. And that's the dangerous thing about emotional affairs. By the time they become physical, the betrayal already happened long before the first kiss. Connor knew this was wrong. He knew it. But Grace's perfume, the sound of her breathing, the way her hands trembled against him, the way she looked at him like he actually mattered. It hit him like an addiction forming in real time. And deep down, he already knew he was never escaping it. Connor's hand slid carefully along her thigh, beneath the edge of her dress, before Grace suddenly grabbed his wrist. All right, y'all, that's our chapter tonight. I appreciate every single one of you hanging out with me while we all collectively watch Connor and Grace make decisions that absolutely require therapy later. And listen, whatever's going on in your life right now, don't quit in the middle of your story. Bad moments don't define you. Mistakes don't define you. Shit happens. Hell, some girl or guy could have just played you and emotionally strung you along just to up and dump you on a random Wednesday for no reason. Sometimes the hardest seasons of your life are the ones that shape you into the person God was building all along. Keep your faith. Keep your heart soft. Stay loyal to the people who love you right.
This chapter was brought to you by BK Canines, professional dog trainer and onboarding. BK Canines is professional, positive, and progressive-driven trainers. Trust me, y'all. I took my dog, Mr. Taco. He's a tiny chihuahua. He would never listen to me, always doing his own thing. But then I found BK Canines. Carly and crew taught me how to be the alpha in my house. Get a hold of Carly today, 945-284-9981, or at bkcanines.com.